Good morning, guys. Let's take a look at the rest of lesson 6-6. Well, actually, we're not going to look at the rest of it. We still have a couple more parts to go. But last week we started this lesson off speaking about parallel lines. So let's do a quick little review of that again before we get into perpendicular lines so that we don't confuse the two. Now, we said parallel lines are lines in the same plane that never intersect. Well, after working some exercises and watching the video from last week, we're able to see that the only way that lines in the same plane will not intersect is if they have the same slope. So parallel lines have the same slope, but a different y-intercept. And we also said that any two vertical lines are parallel and any two perpendicular lines are parallel. Now again, the main point of all of that was that parallel lines have the same slope. Now, let's look at perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines are lines that do intersect, but they intersect and form right angles. These lines have what we call negative reciprocal slopes. Well, if the lines intersect, then they cannot have slopes that are the same. So what we will do is we will find the negative reciprocals of these slopes. Now, when we started this lesson last week, I had you work a couple of warm-up problems to where you had to rate the reciprocal of a couple of given numbers. Now, let's recall again what a reciprocal is. A reciprocal is when you take a number, whether it be a whole number or a fraction, and you guys like to say flip it. So if we have the number 1/2, when we flip it, it becomes 2/1. If we have the number 3/4 and we flip it, it becomes 4/3. Now that is just a reciprocal. Perpendicular lines have what we say are negative reciprocal slopes. So we're going to take the slope of the line that we are given, and not only are we going to flip that slope, we're also going to change its sign. So if it was positive, our new slope will be negative, and if we started off with a line that had a negative slope, the new slope will be positive. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're going to look at a couple of examples here. All right, it says write an equation of the line that contains the point 6, 2 and is perpendicular to the line y equals negative 2x plus 7. Now, at first glance, this looks just like the exercises that we completed last week. The only difference is here that we are talking about perpendicular lines now instead of parallel lines. But other than that, the work is the same. So the first thing we have to do is take the given line, which is y equals negative 2x plus 7, and we have to identify its slope. And we can see here that the slope is negative 2. So step 1, identify the slope of the given line. Now, to find the slope of our perpendicular line, we said that perpendicular lines have negative reciprocal slopes. Well, if the slope of our given line is negative, the slope of our perpendicular line has to be positive. Their signs on the slopes have to be different. Then we take the value 2, which is actually 2/1, and we write its reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 2/1 is 1/2. So the slope of our new line is going to be a positive 1/2. Now, just like we did last week, we took our new slope and we took the point that they give us up here in the problem. Our point is 6, 2, and we substituted into one of the forms of a line to find our new equation. Now, last week, we took this information and we substituted it into point-slope form of a line. Well, for this set of exercises that you're going to be working today, they're going to have you substituting it into the equation slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So let's do that. So we take our equation, y equals mx plus b, and we have to take our new slope and our point and substitute them in. So our new slope is 1/2. We substituted in for the m. And then we had to take our point 6, 2 and substitute it into the x and the y in our equation. So we put the 6 in for x, we put the 2 in for y. The only thing that we don't know now is the b, which is the y-intercept. So to find the value of b, we have to simplify this equation. We have to solve and get b by itself. So the first thing we have to do is simplify this using the order of operations. So we can take 1/2 times 6, or we can simply say, what is 1/2 of 6, because of means multiplication. So what is 1/2 of 6? Well, that is 3. So we have 2 equals 3 plus b. We're almost there. B is almost isolated. To get b by itself, we have to get rid of this 3. We have to move it to the other side. Well, since this is a positive 3, we have to subtract to move it. And what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. 2 minus 3 equals -1. So now that we have found our y-intercept, the value of b, we're going to take that value and we're going to put it with our slope 1/2. And we're going to rewrite it back into the slope-intercept form of a line, y equals mx plus b. So we're going to put in place of m 1/2, and in place of b, we're going to put what we just found for b, which is -1. And the equation of the line that is perpendicular to our given line is y equals 1/2 x minus 1. Now, let you try one. Pause this video, take a minute or two to go and do exactly what we just did in that example. If you need to go back and look at that example in your notes, please do so. Have it out in front of you while you're working this problem. And then after you get yourself an answer, resume the video and see if you got it correct. All right, let's see how you did. Remember, the first step is to find the equation of the given line, or the slope of the given line. So here we have y equals 3/4 x plus 1. So the slope of this given line is 3/4. If we were going to find the equation of a line that was parallel to this line, we know that parallel lines have the same slope, so our new slope would be 3/4. But this directions here say to find the equation of a line that is perpendicular to the given line. So we need the negative reciprocal of this slope. Well, if the given slope is positive, we know our perpendicular slope is going to be negative. And if our given slope is 3/4, we have to write the reciprocal of 3/4, which is 4/3. So our given slope is 3/4, and the perpendicular slope is going to be -4/3. So we're going to take our perpendicular slope, the slope that we just now found by taking the negative reciprocal, and with the point they give us, 1/8, we're going to substitute it into the slope-intercept form of a line, y equals mx plus b. So let's substitute those two pieces of information in. We're going to put the -4/3 in for m, which is our slope, and we're going to put the 8 in for where y is. We're going to put the 1 in for x. And then we're going to simplify. -4/3 times 1 is -4/3. And then to isolate b, we have to get rid of this -4/3. Well, since it's a -4/3, we have to add 4/3 to both sides. Now, since I'm adding a fraction, I'm going to go ahead and turn the 8 into a fraction as well. We know that all whole numbers are over 1. So when I add 4/3 to both sides, we have 8 over 1 plus 4/3 equals b. b is now isolated, but we have to finish simplifying the left side of this equation. We know that we cannot add fractions unless we have common denominators. So here we have a denominator of 1 and 3, and what would our common denominator be? Our common denominator is going to be a 3. So if we multiplied 1 times 3 to get 3, we also have to multiply the 8 times 3. So after we do that, we get 24/3. And we know that we did it correctly because 24 divided by 3 is 8. Now that we have our common denominator of 3, we will keep our denominator and we will add the numerators. 24 plus 4 leaves us with 28. So b, which is our y-intercept, is 28/3. So we will take our y-intercept that we just now found with our slope, here's 28/3, our y-intercept, plus the slope for our perpendicular line, and we will rewrite it in the form of y equals mx plus b. So the equation of the line that is perpendicular to the given line is y equals -4/3 x plus 28/3. I hope you got it right. Remember, if you need to go back and watch this video again to see how you write these equations, please do so. If you have any questions, make sure you leave a comment or email me so that we can get any questions that we have answered. And if you feel pretty good, go ahead and get started on this set of exercises and make sure you have your notes out in front of you.